Hello, everyone. Mark Biteler of Joshua Revival Project. Glad you could join me for another installment of what the Lord has been revealing and has revealed concerning California. So it's August 28th, 2025, and you won't want to miss what I'm going to cover here today. We're on paper, or the article that I uploaded, Biblical Reasons to Leave California in Light of Coming Judgment. I released a new version of that document that includes quite a bit more that the Lord began to deal with me about that needed to be included on the front end. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to get as far as we can today. But you want to download that document. It has all been changed on the website, so you can download the new document in PDF. So hold tight as we go forward. I'm also going to be reading something about this was a comment that was made on our website concerning the last video. What does the Bible have to say about getting out of California while you still can? And he said, now this is 6 days ago, he said, I'm living in California. I grew up here all my life. I tried to tell my family to leave, but they won't listen, even though they believe in Jesus. I don't think they believe there is judgment coming. That's not going to be an uncommon response because the church, by and large, really doesn't believe in the topic of judgment anymore. And so they've conveniently removed themselves from judgment in our day, even though they know judgment is coming they see judgment in the book of Revelation. They see judgment in the Old Testament, but they don't see the possibility of judgment falling today. However, the Apostle Peter spoke very clearly and says it's time for judgment to come to the house of the Lord. So it is during our day, and we want to be sensitive to it. He goes on to say, I am planning to leave next week. I'm leaving most of my possessions behind, and hopefully will be able to have the rest of my things delivered at a later date. If the Lord has mercy, the Lord help me retain my job, even though I am leaving California. He opened the door, which is an answer to prayer. I'm sad about leaving my family and all I know. I pray others in California have ears to hear and eyes to see. And so do I. I asked his permission to read this on a video, and just following through, having had his permission. But his comment is up on the website, or I'm sorry, up on YouTube, and you can view it at your leisure. So where I'm going to start again is actually the first page. We covered quite a bit, but I'm going to cover what the Lord began to impress me about, and we're going to look more deeply into the sin of presumption. Now, this is a topic that I've taught quite a bit about, and there are, I think, at last count, 10 or 11 videos on the topic of the sin of presumption that the Lord told me a number of years ago to begin to develop training materials on. And so you can read those, and I would say it's very important in light of the fact of what the Spirit has said about that sin. He said the sin of presumption is going to be dangerous, if not deadly, in the days ahead. And this works squarely with regard to what Pastor Jack Hibbs in Los Angeles area is saying to everyone in California and to his church concerning Assembly Bill 495. Yes, it's evil. Yes, it's wicked. If it passes into law, he said to his church, you need to get out of California. And he said that to basically everybody in California. But it only has to do with whether or not Assembly Bill 495 is passed into law. Now, he's rallying the troops, so to speak out and to vote and reach out to their representatives in the state and the House Senate there, and to make sure that those folks understand that they're not happy about that bill, and rightfully so. There's nothing wrong about that, other than, and the best thing I can come up with is to put forth an example, and bear with me, but because I think you'll appreciate it. If the chief mechanic on a ship sends a warning to the captain and says, the engine is overheating, I think we need to slow it down. I think we need to do some mechanical repairs, possibly change a filter, whatever that might need to be. So they might be engaged in that, but just about that time or simultaneously, they take a torpedo and the bow of the ship is completely blown off from the front of the ship. So here's the captain, and he's looking at the situation and saying, okay, should we slow down? Well, we're taking water fast and we're going down. Do you tell the chief mechanic to keep working on the engine to solve the overheating problem, solve the cooling problem, change the coolant, do diagnostics, fight with all the other people there that he has at his disposal to try to trace down what the problem is? Or do you abandon ship? That's simple. When you've got a devastating hit like the front of the ship and all the doors are open that allow the rest of the ship to flow, all the other water to flow in through the rest of the ship, you're going to go down nose first. So you can see what I'm talking about. You've got to weigh what's the most critical piece of information you have. And as any reasonable captain would decide, given the critical nature of the situation, he's going to say, hey, if we can't fix and stop and close the bulkheads and stop that water from coming in, it's time to abandon ship. So you kind of understand what I'm saying. So the Lord is saying, in light of what we know about Assembly Bill 495, the Lord is saying, abandon ship. It's irrelevant given the situation that I'm going to bring to California. And you can't be there when I bring judgment, because if you are, you're going to get caught up in my wrath. So I hope you understand the parallels of what we're really talking about. What is the most critical situation that we have? We have the Lord's own word, consistent from 2014 up until now. Get out of California while you still can. I'm going to bring judgment to Los Angeles. I'm going to bring judgment to San Francisco. Well, Lord, what can we do? That was my prayer. Lord, what can we do about LA? What can I do? Can I pray for LA? He said, no, you can't. Only lament. This is how serious this is. I can't tell you how devastated I was to receive this information. What do we have? 11 million people in LA? And he's going to destroy LA. The Palisades fires and the Eaton fires were only the beginning. It was after that the Lord showed me that he was pounding his fist into LA time and time and time again. Does that sound like we've got any time? Does that sound like Calvary Chapel in, Clinton Hills? Chino Hills, California? Do they have any time? Does Jack Hibbs have any time to spend on Assembly Bill 495 when all of LA is in jeopardy? Well, what about the rest of California? Well, let's talk about that. Well, the Lord has spoken about San Francisco. Devastating. Incredible judgment is coming to the San Francisco area. The entire country is going to be affected by what he's going to bring to the San Francisco area. You can read about that on the website. Just search under California, LA, and San Francisco, or just search under California. You can read it at length, or better yet, download the latest publication, latest article I just released, Biblical Reasons to Leave California in Light of Coming Judgment. And on the back, there are 3.5 pages of a summary of everything the Lord has given me. 8 visions, count them 8. They track just like that. They are progressive, but they say the same thing without variance. I'm bringing judgment. My heart is so grieved for California. My heart is so grieved for pastors that won't listen. My heart is so grieved for the church. Many in the church are never going to hear this because their pastors won't tell them. Why? Because their pastors aren't hearing the voice of the Spirit of God. I had a ministry, a fellow minister, reach out to me and say, yeah, well, Jack Hibbs, successful pastor and so on and so forth. And he's doing the right thing. I'm here to say what the Lord is doing. I'm here to say what the Lord is saying. I'm not making this up in my mind. This hasn't come up with it's a good idea to get. No, it's the Lord has said on a consistent basis, he's going to bring judgment. And anybody doesn't leave is going to be caught up in his wrath. I'm a degreed engineer from the University of Illinois. I don't have any axe to grind about California or pastors or churches or anything else. I'm incensed by pastors who talk about things that they don't know what they're talking about. I'm incensed that Christians won't listen to what the Spirit of God is saying. I'm grieved that many people are going to either hear this word and disobey, or they're never going to hear it because nobody's going to ever share it with them, and they're going to perish along with their friends and family. Now, blood's not going to be on my hands. Sorry. I've been given a charge. The Lord has commanded me to get the word out. And that's what I'm trying to do. As limited in resources as this faith-based ministry is, I'm doing what I can. I'm doing all that I can. I don't know what else to do. And people are reaching out and saying, hey, have you let this pastor know and that pastor know? And all these famous pastors in California, have you let them know? I've reached out to Jack Hibbs and he hasn't responded. I've reached out to so many leaders across the country about what the Lord's saying. They never return a phone. They never return a direct message. They never return an email. They never pick up the phone and say, hey, I got your letter. I've sent mailings to just shy of 4,000 pastors and churches. Two different times, one for 1,000, another one for 2,800. In both of those mailings, all total, we received 4 responses. Count them. 4 out of just about 4,000. I'm not going to waste my time, and I'm not going to waste God's the people who loved Jesus and wanted to get the word out. I'm not going to waste their money. It's God's money. No, we're not going to waste that money to do another mailing, direct mail campaign, all personally signed, highly personalized. I come from the corporate arena. I can't just send out anything. Those documents that we sent out were edited, re-edited, edited again, then edited again, then edited again. Because I wouldn't call myself a writer, and I certainly wouldn't call myself an editor. Things go out of this ministry when we want them top notch. We want them to understand how much effort, time, and money we've put in to make sure that they have the information from the Lord that they need. Some people say, well, you're trying to put your best foot forward. Well, you could say that. There's a way of saying that. But we want to represent the Lord because he's worthy to be represented in a worthy manner, in an honorable manner. And so publications that I put out on an ongoing basis, I try to uphold that standard. Trying to get better. So, enough of that. Let's move on to the document. And I'm on page 1, so if you've got the document or if you want to download it, print it out, and come back, do that. So I'm in the middle of the page and talking about Moses. When did Moses move in presumption and it ever worked for him? His ministry was dependent upon hearing the voice of the Spirit of God. Before he got to Egypt, while he was in Egypt, and when he was leading the Israelites through the desert and to the border of the promised land. But what kept him out? What kept Moses out of the promised land? He desperately wanted to get into the promised land. We read that in Deuteronomy. He's pleading with the Lord. Let me go in. The Lord said no. Why was it that the Lord said no to Moses? After all of the suffering, after dealing with all the rebellion, he did what the Lord told him not to do. The second time he went to the rock, he says, take your staff and go speak to the rock. The first time he took his staff and struck the rock with the staff. The second time the Lord told him, take your staff, but speak to the rock. And Moses moved in anger and struck the rock, and that was it. Immediately, judgment fell upon him. He says, okay, you didn't believe me. You didn't represent me before the Israelites the way I should have been represented. You're not going in. That was it. There was no recourse for Moses. He could not repent, and then the Lord would allow him to go in. No, that was it. That's what the sin of presumption will get you every time. That's what we're dealing with in America. And the Lord has told me that the sin of presumption will be dangerous, if not deadly, in the days ahead. If you're a pastor in California and you're saying anything other than what the Lord is saying about get out while you still can, I'm saying you're moving in the sin of presumption. You're talking about stuff you really don't understand. You don't have revelation of what the Lord is doing. That's dangerous. Because when you're moving in the sin of presumption and you don't have revelation, what are the chances that you're working cross-grain with the Spirit of God? 100%. 100%. So you're working cross-grain with where the Lord is doing. Well, when you don't have eyes to see and you don't have ears to hear, that's what happens. All of a sudden, you find that you're in trouble, and it's too late. Why? Because you've been living in a sin of presumption forever. When are we going to stop? When are we going to start reading and understanding what the Bible has to say about this sin that the Lord had to alert me to? I'm not Mr. Perfection. I don't claim to have an insight on the truth. But I know what the Lord has revealed, and he's saying some very critical things and some very precise things. And so we need to heed. So I talk about that here. What about Joshua, the next leader after Moses? Joshua, if you read the first, second, third chapters of Joshua, you're going to see an amazing step-by-step, precise steps that the Lord is going to lead Joshua in and the people to move to the Jordan, cross the Jordan, come out of the Jordan, and on their way to Jericho, it's time to get circumcised. Oh, they didn't see that coming. Why? Because they've not been this way before. They had not been that way before, and neither have we. And so we want to go around doing whatever we want to do and call it ministry. We want to bring in people to fight against Assembly Bill 495, and the Lord hasn't called anybody to do that. You can stand on your podium and crow like a rooster and use one verse to say, well, if you need to stand up against sin. Hey, shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against their evil and their unbelief and leave. That is preaching the word of God. Jesus commanded his disciples, if they don't receive your word, shake the dust off your sandals as a testimony against them and leave. Oh, we don't want to hear that. No, we're going to flail and we're going to snort and we're going to bellow and we're going to preach till the cows come home until judgment falls on us because we wouldn't listen. Hey, everybody's got to make a choice about being rebellious and lawless against the Lord. And that's what that is. It's rebellion. You cut yourself off from what the Spirit of God is saying. You disregard what the Spirit of God is saying. You say, well, the Bible tells me I can do this and I can do that. No, you can't even get into the promised land without the Lord going ahead of you. That's what the Israelites found out when the Lord said, okay, you've despised everything that I've done in and through the, while you've been coming through the desert. You believe the bad report from the 10 spies that went in. Now you're complaining, and now you want to go back to Egypt yet again. He says, okay, yeah, you're not going in. Your carcasses are going to die and rot in this desert, and I'm going to take your children, who you thought you were concerned about, and I'm going to take them in. But you're not going in. And the next day, oh, okay, Moses, we get it. Okay, we're going to go in. And so we're asking forgiveness from the Lord. And Moses told him point blank, says, you can't go in because the Lord's not going to go with you. What are you doing, church? You're doing everything in the name of the Lord. You say, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do the other thing. And the Israelites went and started fighting, and they were slaughtered and run out of town. You can read it for yourself. This is how serious this is. So Joshua and the Israelites were doing pretty well. And they followed the plan and the strategy of the Lord that came by revelation. Didn't come in their mind. Doesn't the Bible say, we were reading out of Isaiah, if I'm not mistaken. Let me turn there. It's in the document. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. Oh, yeah, but the board was getting together and we were thinking. Well, that's your problem. You're not getting any revelation. Isaiah 55, 8 through 9. My thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So revelation is going to have to come from outside of ourselves, isn't it? It's going to have to come from the Spirit of God. And Jesus said of the Spirit of God, he'll take that which is of mine and reveal it to you. He's going to give you revelation. When was the last time you heard that preached in the church? No, we've got to be socially active. We've got to stand against what the legislature is doing. Baloney. Not in this case. You're in another state and you're fighting the battle that God's called you to. Wonderful. In this particular case, with California at this time, it's a waste of time. The Lord has said, The wickedness of California has come up before me. It's too late. Get out so I can do what I need to do. That's a dying. If you've been in ministry and you've been fighting the good fight of faith, the Lord commends you. There's a time to build up. There's also a time to tear down. When the Lord brings a command to leave, it's time to leave. It's not even time to tie up loose ends. It's time to go. Sure, you can be wise about it. Sure, you can be prudent about it. But you better be intentional about it, because the Lord's not going to suffer foolish decisions in this hour when He's speaking clearly. Man, I wish I had a megaphone to all of the United States. Lord Jesus. So they had victory going into Jericho. And just that quickly, they've got their eyes set on taking Ai. So what do? They don't do what they were just doing with Jericho and before that, following the step-by-step strategy and plans that the Lord revealed to Joshua. No, they had a committee get together, and the committee told Joshua, "Yeah, we went and saw Ai. And yeah, we would suggest." There's another problem. We don't have any revelation, but we're going to suggest. Yeah, it's a small town. So just don't send all the people. Just send part of the army, and we'll take care of them. No revelation. No revelation. They had no idea what Achan had done in terms of taking some money out of Jericho that was reserved for the Lord. So he stole it. And now the protection of the Lord is no longer available. And they get soundly defeated at Ai. And Joshua said, well, hey, what happened? Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, what are we going to do? And the Lord said, and rightfully so, get up. There's sin in the camp. Deal with it. Oh, they didn't know that. Yeah, that's why you got to have revelation. That's why you don't want to move in the sin of presumption. Just say, oh, yeah, well, we did what we did back then. That's going to work here. No, that's not. That's not what the Bible talks about. Jesus says, apart from me, you can do nothing. When are we going to start listening and heeding the Bible? I preach the Bible every Sunday and every Sunday night, and I'm on 13 different platforms getting the Word of God out, but I move in presumption every day. Okay, good for you. But it's not worth a dime, is it? If the Lord isn't in it. If you're not bringing fresh bread to His people, if you're not bringing living water. What is that? Fresh bread, living water. It's revelation by His Spirit. What is His Spirit saying about this situation? So what is it? What does Joshua do? He said, oh, okay, this is what we got to do, huh, Lord? Yeah, this is what you got to do. You got to take care of this sin with Achan. You got to deal with this. And then I'll go with you to Ai, and then you'll be victorious, but not until then. It's a powerful case study in what we're talking about. You can read about that in Joshua 7:1 through 8:29. Now, with regard to David, now listen to this. Now, he's just moved up to Hebron. He's become king over Israel. And the Philistines set out to wage war to test him out. That's my interpretation. And what does David do? Does he say, well, I've been anointed and I'm going to go forward and we're going to clean house? No, that's not what he does. The first thing David did was to inquire of the Lord. And he asks, he says, am I to go up? And the Lord tells him, yes. You should go up and I'll be with you. And it was in that battle that David came to know, and he talked about the Lord of the breakthrough. How did he learn that? Because the Lord was there to fight with him and gave him the breakthrough he needed. What if you're in battle and the Lord doesn't give you a breakthrough? You got a problem. You better be in a battle with the Lord. What he's called you to, and he's in there swinging with you and really through you to defeat the darkness in front of you. Don't presume on the graciousness of the Lord to step into the enemy's territory that he hasn't called you. Well, the Lord died for the sins of the world. Yeah, I know that. Not telling me anything I don't know. But don't presume to go off and do ministry without the Lord calling you into it. Because apart from him, you can do nothing. You don't like that theology? You're going to have to wrestle with the Bible on that one. So he's victorious. You can read about it in 2 Samuel 5. When the Philistines came out again, still, David didn't move on his own, but he went and inquired. What is so hard about us inquiring of the Lord? I'll tell you what the big problem is. People aren't hearing. Christians aren't hearing. Pastors aren't hearing from the voice of the Spirit of God. They're not hearing. They don't hear his voice. So they just don't do it. How foolish is that? We must. It is incumbent upon us to hear the voice of the Spirit of God. Jesus himself, you can read it all through the Gospel of John. I do nothing on my own initiative. What does that mean? Jesus did nothing on his own initiative. Yeah, but what does that mean? It means Jesus did nothing on his own initiative. He didn't do his own plans. He didn't do his own thing. He didn't sit down with the apostles and say, well, what do you think we should do? And maybe we should do a storyboarding project and just come up with a bunch of ideas as to how to bring the gospel to the four corners of the earth. Are you kidding me? No, it was the plan and purpose of God. Jesus was accomplishing the Father's will. How did he do that? He had to see what the Father was doing. Isn't that what he said? He says, what I see my Father doing, I do. My teaching is not my own. The teaching is my Father's. What he has revealed to me, that's what I teach about. Read it for yourself. It's all through there. He didn't even come on his own. His Father sent him. Has the Father sent you? What are you doing? What are you doing? You want to go out on your own without his protection, and you are demanding that the Lord give you victory. He is not obligated to give you victory. You've been doing things on your own. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. So what does the Lord say the second time around when David's going to fight the Philistines? He says, you shall not go directly up. David could have assumed that he could have gone forward and said, well, the Lord gave me victory last time. We're just going to use that same plan. No, that's not what the Lord said. Anything but. Listen to this. Circle around behind them and come at them in the front of the balsam trees. Specific location. Go around behind them. And it shall be when you hear the sound of marching. What is he hearing? He's hearing angels marching through. At the top, what? The top of balsam trees? That's weird. Is that in the Bible? Yeah, it's in the Bible. I'm reading out of the Bible now. When you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the balsam tree, then you shall act promptly. No, you shall just leisurely move on out, and God's going to be... No, he says you're going to leave promptly. When you hear that, that's a signal. Start moving. But not until then. For then the Lord will have gone out before you to strike the army of the Philistines. 2 Samuel 5:22 through 25. So what happened? Well, David and his army were victorious again. So the church would do well. This is only the tip of the iceberg with regard to what the Bible has to say about the sin of presumption. You need, I just would encourage you to go to the website and look for the sin of presumption video series that you can pull up. It's there. It's available. So I put it in your hands. Now it's in your hands. You need to make the decision. So then we have the account of the king of Jehoshaphat, the king of Israel, or Judah at that time. They were split into two kingdoms. This is King Jehoshaphat. And he received the report of a vast army approaching. This is out of 2 Chronicles 21 through 4. This was the kingdom of Aram. And they determined, Jehoshaphat and the people in Jerusalem and Judah, they determined to seek the Lord. Seek the Lord first. Seek him. You're not going to win on your own anyway, so seek him and find out what he wants to do and then follow his plan. He wants to give it to you more than you want it. Guarantee you that. So they didn't strike out on their own. And as a result of their humility and prayer, the Spirit of the Lord fell upon a Levite named Jehaziel. That's in 2 Chronicles 20:14 through 19. Powerful. When was the last time you saw the Spirit of God fall on anybody in your church service? And I use that term church lightly because many of these places, and the Lord has warned me, he says, don't call them churches that have separated themselves from my Holy Spirit, because they are not a church. They are a temple of idols. What do you think about that? That's how serious. This is how bad this is from the Lord's perspective. When you don't have his perspective, you're just going to be walking around in trouble. Bombs are falling out all over you, and all you're doing is down on your knees crying and quoting Psalm 91. You weren't supposed to be there. He's not obligated to protect you. If you're where he doesn't want you to be. Hear that, pastor in California? Hear that, Christian in California? So Jehaziel moves in a prophetic word, and he says, you need not fight in this battle. This is the Lord flowing through Jehaziel. You need not fight in this battle. Station yourselves, stand and see the salvation of the Lord on your behalf. 2 Chronicles 20:17. A. This was the work of the Spirit of God. He wants to speak to his church, but we've locked him out. No, we don't want people to move in prophecy or tongues and interpretation or the gifts and signs of miracles, distinguishing of spirits. No, we just love flying blind. We love hitting the wall all day long. We love just moving around like the blind following the blind so that we can fall into another ditch again on Sunday morning. This is lunacy, folks. That's lunacy. No, we need to hear the Spirit of God. We need to have eyes to see and ears to hear what he's saying and doing, and a heart to perceive where he wants to flow. I was with another minister friend of mine at the local Lowe's. We'd gone out to lunch, been talking, having some fellowship. He was driving through, and he needed something at Lowe's, so we stopped over there. No sooner we get out of the car in the parking lot, before we went in, the Spirit of God fell on me. And the Lord began to release prophetic revelation to him that was powerful. The Spirit of God was on me so strong, I was overwhelmed. And I would try to speak and really couldn't speak because the Spirit of God it was incredible. It really was. But we were both being ministered to as the Lord began to reveal to me what he was going to be doing with this brother of mine. It was powerful. The Lord said, I'm going to bring resolution to the things that you've been dealing with. And not only that, I'm going to bring revelation through you to the church. So get ready. And I'm going to bring revelation to you in my word. It was very powerful. Full of hope. And before I gave that word about revelation of the Bible, the wind of the Spirit of God just blew right over the top of the car. I felt him. I was feeling a lot because he was all over me. This is what's happening to Jehaziel. And so in the midst of Jehoshaphat and the people praising the Lord, he caused the combined forces of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir to destroy one another. Where no one escaped. That's 2 Chronicles 20:24. No one escaped. Well, we really don't believe the Lord will move in that kind of power today. It's up to us to stand against the legislature in California, wherever, and take back our state from the evil. I tell you, California is overrun. The Spirit of God is saying, get out while you still can, because there's coming a day where you're not going to be able to get out. And you're going to wish you had left. Then we have Hezekiah. He's facing the threat of King Sennacherib of Assyria. And the king of Assyria has invaded Judah. He's taken the fortified cities. He's at the gates of Jerusalem. Can you imagine the threat he was feeling? But Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah didn't act in presumption. Hezekiah asked Isaiah to pray for the people, and Isaiah prophesied against the king of Assyria. He's going to go back the way he came. He's not going to strike an arrow against this city. That ended up to be true. But the Lord didn't do anything yet until Hezekiah humbled himself. Rather than relying on Isaiah to pray, he prayed. He went and sought the Lord. And the Lord heard. And as a result, the Lord sent his angel and killed 185,000 Assyrian warriors. That's what happens when you wait to get the Lord's strategy. What are his war plans? The Lord told me years ago, I'm tearing up the plans and the strategies of men. That includes pastors. That includes heads of denominations. That includes elders. Gotta have to have the strategy and plan of the Lord. The church must realize that it cannot win battles the Lord has not called it to fight. That should be pretty simple. I don't know how to say this any stronger. I don't know how the Bible's going to say it any stronger. But Jesus told his disciples, if they don't receive your ministry, and this is for pastors and many Christians all throughout, the millions of Christians that are all part of the 40 million people population in California, that in many cases were called, they're doing ministry left and right, and now the Lord's saying, okay, time's up, time to leave. No, we're not done. Oh, no, I thought I was going to live here, and I thought my parents are here, and everything we have is here, and all our friends and family is here. We can't, our kids are here, our grandkids are here. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them what you've heard the Lord saying. Tell them why you're leaving. And finally, testify to them by leaving. That's as much preaching as anything. Noah was preaching for 100 to 120 years, the best estimates for how long it took for the ark to be built. He was preaching every day as he swung that hammer. Why are you swinging that hammer, Noah? Because judgment's coming. There's going to be a flood. Oh, that's ridiculous, Noah. What about Lot? We touched on this in the last video, and I think it merits touching on it again because it's so important. Abram and Lot, they are so blessed of the Lord that the land can no longer sustain them. Their herds and their herdsmen are fighting because they're trying to get enough water for the flock. And Abram sees it for what it is, and he tells his nephew, he says, hey, tell you what, we're family. So you just decide which way you want to go, and I'll go the other way. And Lot looked up, and he saw the Jordan Valley. That, and the Bible says, in the New American Standard Version, 1995, says the valley was well watered everywhere. Not just well watered, it was well watered everywhere. So that's where Lot went. And the Bible talks about that Sodom and Gomorrah were known for being wicked and evil men. And yet he went down. I got news for you. You living in California, you're surrounded by evil and wicked men bent on wickedness. This is a powerful parallel to what's going on in California. When it finally came down, now Abraham, is interceding for the righteous in those cities. Lord, will you destroy the city? And he goes through a number. I think he started at 50 and went down to 10. The Lord said, no, I won't destroy the city for 10. And then that was it. So what happened? The Lord sent 2 angels to bring Lot and his family out. My takeaway from the story is, as I read between the lines, is that Lot was seriously compromised. Even all of his experiences, the Bible says he was vexed on a daily basis because the evil and wickedness of the people in Sodom. Vexed every day, yet he didn't leave. No, I like my possessions too much. No, I'm well watered here. Oh, this is beautiful country here. It's beautiful country. Californians. Hey, I've been to California. I've got family in California. I've told them the same thing I'm telling you. Get out. It's time to get out. It's beautiful. If I could live in California, I would. But you couldn't pay me to live in California now. Why? Because judgment's coming. I don't care how beautiful it is. I don't care how nice the weather is. And you read in this document, I took a step back just to look at the political scene and what all is going on in California. We talked about that in the last video. You can read it or you can watch the last video. It's hard to leave your home. But Abram was called to leave his home and go to a place that the Lord would show him. He started out not knowing, and then the Lord directed him to the land of Canaan. He had never been there. Gee, I've got to leave my father? Got to leave family? I'm never going to see them again. All the friends? We ain't got to leave it. Abram picked up and left. Having heard this word, the decision has to be made. Will you leave? That's the question. Will you leave? Once you make the decision, then additional revelation will be made and given to you, will be released to you. But now, having heard what the Lord is saying, what's your decision? Because the Lord's going to act on your decision, and He's going to move based on your decision. If having heard this word and you reject it, there's really not more that He can do. The angels had to grab a hold of Lot, his wife, and the two daughters, who were going to be given away in marriage to two wicked men in Sodom. How compromised do you have to be to marry your two daughters off to two wicked men in Sodom? That's compromise. Could it be that the wickedness of California has reached such a level that the temptation is going to be too much for you and your family to bear? Think about your children. Think about your grandchildren. The temptation in the darkness is going to be too much for them to bear. The Lord knows how to deliver the righteous from the wicked, but you gotta follow Him. You gotta turn your back on what He says to turn your back on to, and move out. He'll give you the grace. He'll bless you on the way. It may be a difficult journey. It may be difficult in terms of all the decisions and all the preparations you have to make. But it's far better than being killed. Do you really love your family? Do you really love your grandchildren? Show them what it means. What the Bible has to say about doing what God calls them to do. Calls us all to do. When we hear the voice of the Spirit of God, we follow Him. That's what it means to be a Christian. Hear His voice and follow Him. Lot had to leave the beautiful valley of Jordan. 4 cities were destroyed. One he pleaded for with the angels and said, let me escape to this town. Legend has it that he didn't stay in that town. He ultimately went to the mountains that the angels told him to flee to. He said, run for your life. Flee for your life. The angels were saying, we can't bring the destruction until you leave. That's what the Lord's saying. But He's not going to wait forever. Don't resist Him. If you feel the Spirit of God grabbing a hold of your heart, grabbing a hold of your neck, looking you in the eyeball and saying, get out, you better get out. And even if you don't, get out. The Palisades fires were only the beginning of what's coming. You remember all the fires in 2020? Had COVID, you had the major fires out there in California. Those fires were some of the biggest in California's recorded history. And in a vision in 2020, I saw the Lord standing and looking at those fires in California, and He turned back with tears in His eyes. I said, Lord, what are you weeping about? He says, they're not responding. What did that mean? They're not repenting. Oh, it's just another fire. See, well, it happens every year. No big deal. Oh, it's a big deal. But that's the type of stuff that you come up with when you don't have revelation. You have no idea that somebody has turned the heat up, and you're being boiled alive before you know it. This is serious stuff. We're going to close there for now. I hope this is of help to you. Stay tuned. We're going to continue with this because it's too important. Again, download the document. Got a total of 14 pages. Prophetic summary at the back, biblical reasons for leaving California in light of judgment at the front end. Got 10 pages of biblical references you can read for yourself. This is the case for leaving California. And I really believed it was necessary to put together this document along with a prophetic summary. Every one of those prophecies that I provide a summary for has a live link. It'll take you straight to that prophetic word. You can download that as well, and you can read that, meditate that, soak on that. But if you disregard this, there's nothing anybody can do to help you. Not even Jesus. Once he tells you to get in the boat and go to the other side, it's time to get in the boat and go to the other side. Let's just say it that way. Trying to find ways that'll hook into people so that they kind of get it. No matter what we think in our head, his thoughts are above our thoughts. Isn't that true? It is true. Information about this ministry is here for your reference. If you'd like to stand with us, welcome you to do that. This is a faith-based ministry. All of your donations are tax deductible. So, not sure what else I could say. I hope this is of help to you. It's as direct and full of fire as it can be. I trust that you will take this to heart and at least seriously consider it, rather than toss it to the curb and in the waste can. God bless you until next time. Bye for now.